Noi sistemeremo le cose. Lo faremo. Tu e io. Metteremo tutto a posto. Che solo ci provino a fermarci.
Di uno di loro, che ha realizzato in che brutta posizione si trovano grazie a Kyla. Il tuo virus distruttivo riuscirà finalmente ad aprire gli occhi di tutti quanti sulla vera natura degli esseri umani.
L'artista che vuole perfezionare la sua opera deve prima affinare i suoi strumenti. Bisogna trovare il problema prima di cercare una soluzione.
Forza, muoversi!
Chip a 7, avviso a tutte le unità.
Le persone hanno diritto alla conoscenza, diritto alla libertà.
La libertà. La libertà si trasforma in avidità, odio, guerra. Le persone devono avere paura, così obbediscono e organizzano una società civile. Una cosa è certa. Noi siamo un errore, un terribile ed inutile esperimento. L'unica ragione della nostra esistenza è quella di correggere noi stessi.
This virus that was isolated has never been seen before in the virus banks that are being kept around the world.
Just as it sounds, this is an influenza virus that is commonly seen in pigs. However, in rare occurrences, the virus does cause infections in humans. Swine influenza infections typically look clinically much like seasonal influenza, having symptoms such as fever, cough, sore throat, and muscle aches. Sometimes additional symptoms such as diarrhea or red eyes are also present. Typically, in swine influenza cases, there is evidence or there's information leading to that the individual had direct contact with pigs. This strain of swine influenza that's been cultured in the laboratory is something that's not been seen anywhere actually in the United States and the world. So this is actually a new strain of influenza that's been identified. The good news is what's occurring in the cases that have been found is they've been very mild influenza cases. But the uniqueness of this flu virus strain is what's concerning because it's not been seen before. I've touched our hospital partners and clinicians to be on the lookout for cases of influenza and consider testing for swine influenza. We're also working very closely with state and federal partners as part of this extensive nationwide investigation. There's not been any information definitively as to what's going on in Mexico. This is an ongoing investigation that actually is both state, national, and international in terms of communication and information. So we really don't have any information that in fact, what's going on in Mexico is linked here.
This is extremely rare. There's been one case about every 1 to 2 years in the United States. This is a very unusual occurrence. That's why we're very concerned and very watchful. There is no history of contact with pigs in these early cases. Where this infection might have started from and where it came from. Just like typical seasonal flu, you should go see your doctor if you have such symptoms.
Now, health officials say this is a different strain of swine flu than the pandemic of 1918 that killed tens of millions of people.
And also for people who would remember here recently, it's a little different from the swine flu scare that was back in 1976. 5 people died in that. And swine flu is affecting Mexico as well. The government there has closed schools. They've shut down museums, libraries, even theaters.
personally.
Great, Drew. I really appreciate that. And there are two things you can do. You can file the criminal charges, or you can file an injunction asking your court to ban the vaccine. This is a civil case, and that's a separate legal document. You can fill out a civil form, a civil complaint form, and just try and get your court to have the vaccine banned in your county and your state. So you can do two things.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can also do, I just got a pop-up email, an IM from a friend that reminded me about the sheriffs. There are 7 brand-new sheriffs up in Montana who stand for the Constitution, and we will get those documents in their hands. And that's what it's going to take, is networking with patriots like Jane who are doing their due diligence. One more question that from a Marine who asked, did she say that she went to the University of Edinburgh, one of the most prestigious universities in Europe?
I did. I've got my MA degree from the University of Edinburgh in English. So I think that also shows how, even if you've studied English, you can still find out what's going on in this medical field. You can use your brain, and this is another strength, I think, of the Army and the military. They learn competences and skills, and they learn to transfer it, and they learn to be flexible, they learn to be adaptable, and they learn to work through problems and to face difficulties. So I think even in a civil setting, dealing with something like this, the military training, the military attitude, is very, very important now in this fight, this legal fight against, these people. So, yep.
And they took an oath to protect us from the enemies within. And that is why they have to see where the enemies are. And it's a very hard thing for us in the States to face what's actually happening in this country. Of course, the economic collapse is happening at the same time as the pandemic is coming out. So we know what's coming down the pike. What better distraction could we have from an economic collapse in this country than people dying in huge numbers from a pandemic that's caused by a vaccine?
Can I ring in here for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Jane, can you give us a little background, either now or even in a blog, on just what gives the World Health Organization police powers over the entire planet? Because you're saying that they will usurp the powers of sovereign nations and take away any authority that we don't have a president, by the way. It's an agency. It became an agency in 1947, I believe, and Barack Obama didn't swear an oath in front of the American people. We don't have a president, so this figurehead will have its power usurped by a foreign entity. Can you explain that for us?
I wish I could, Pat. You've hit the nail on the head. It's the same in Austria as the USA. One little health minister or chancellor signs a little decree behind closed doors, which is never publicized, which hands over the whole of Austria to who in the event of a pandemic? And nobody knows about this decree. And we're all being, kind of sold down the river by a little clique who have got into high office pretending to serve us, and they are actually selling us down the river.
Yes. It's high crimes and misdemeanors. It's treason of the highest order, and it's happening all around the globe because of this genocidal agenda that they have. They want to decrease the population of the world to 500,000 or 500 million, as they've actually written in stone on the Georgia guideposts that are here in the state.